Sunday's edition, and to be taking a look at the minimum wage. All right, finding a common ground. With me here in the studio is an entrepreneur, a politician, political affairs commentator, human rights activist. Join me to welcome Honorable Samuel Ehigato, aka Arouse. Welcome to TMI Sunday's edition. Appreciate your coming.
Good morning, Wilson.
All right.
Good morning,
And all the way from US, New Jersey, I would like to appreciate the presence of Honorable Ehi Igariba. How are you doing this morning? If it's morning out there or tonight, I don't know. Whatever, is it morning or night? Honorable, welcome to TMI on this edition.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's about 3 a.m. over here.
Okay, now from all the way from Germany also, I have a vibrant youth, an astute youth, a political analyst, political affairs commentator. Join me to welcome Mayor Benjamin. Mayor Benjamin, good morning from the side.
Good morning, Mr. Wilson. Thank you for having me.
All right, so we're going to start off this discussion, what is happening with the workforce in Nigeria. You know, the workforce right now, they're having serious contending issues in the sense that the last meeting of the Tribunal Committee, it ended in a deadlock. All right, it ended in a deadlock, and right now, Nigerians are like asking what should be the way forward. Let me start off with Samuel Ehigato here in the studio. Now, what do you feel about this Labour federal government impasse? The Nigerian governors, for they say they cannot pay 60,000 naira. The federal government is saying 62,000 naira, and Labour is saying you can pay. Why are you saying that you just cannot pay? And right now, they won't be able to reach a conclusive agreement. Don't forget, it was only 5 days given to the federal government or the government of the day to make this thing happen, or else Labour will down too.
Thank you very much, Wilson. I think the issue with the minimum wage is something that can be easily be solved. But we still have these kind of governors that have still not understand the need of these people. Because at a time like this, we know the cost of things in the market.
Yeah.
Just go to market, somebody to take 30,000 naira home that cannot even buy even Gary, cannot even buy beans. It's going to pay the salary. So if you look at all those things, it tells you that they are not even feeling the pain we're feeling as workforce in the country. Irrespective that maybe the civil servants is just about 10% or 15% of this population. But I still believe they need to be encouraged.
All right.
They need to be pushed forward.
All right, now, okay.
Just too bad.
Too bad. Now, you just want. I'll come back to you. I need Honorable Igariba to really react to this drawing of what is really going on in U.S., New Jersey, and of course Nigeria, comparing and contrasting the minimum wage. Honorable Ehi, over to you.
We are not practicing fiscal democracy, so everything is heaped and negotiated as though we're in a unitary system of government. All states are not at equal economic levels, and therefore they ought not to be grouped together because their economic strengths are varied. Let me put it that way. There in the United States here, for instance, there is the federal minimum wage, and there are states minimum wage as well. Every state pay as much as for instance, in the United States, the minimum wage is about $7.25 per hour. That is the national minimum wage. But in several states, for instance, in the state of New Jersey, we have a minimum wage of about $16 to $17 per hour. So it is different. Every state is paying according to their economic capacity. But in Nigeria, we operate a federal system as though it's a unitary system of government. Some states are richer than some, and the cost of living is also higher in some states. So you're not going to be paying somebody in Lagos State or Abuja or Port Harcourt, some of the most urban centers, which come with very high cost of living. The same thing you're going to be paying somebody who perhaps lives in my village or Kokubo in a local government. Even if they work for the same federal government, the cost of living are varied. So I think the labor ought to be negotiating from this point of view to see how people can be paid. Minimum wage should be paid by different states in order of their capacity and in with reference particularly to the cost of living in the various states. Thank you.
Much, Honorable Ehie, for your opinion. And let's get to hear from Mayor Benjamin. Do you share his views for what he said? He said states in America, they have their own minimum wage, while, of course, the federal government in America have its own minimum, which is $7 and some cents. Now, in Nigeria, it's like we operate in a particular format whereby once the federal government gives, heads up in its own minimum wage, definitely the states are bound to like follow. But isn't it in America, it is not like that. What do you have to say about this, Benjamin?
It depends, in my own opinion, I would like to say that it depends on the system that the country is operating on. Like that of America, the system very well, and which is very, very right. But the country where I'm residing, they have a flat rate for like the minimum wage, which is nothing less than 12 euro 50 cents or something per hour. It depends on your profession. But that's the least that labor can earn here in Germany. If you also look at it in Nigeria and as a whole, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that statement that some states cannot pay. Minding the fact that the other states are richer than other states, I understand. But if you also look at the other states, who you think they are richer than the other states, they are kind of a little bit populated than the other states who are not financially poor than the others. But it depends on the person, depends on the governor, or rather who is the helm of affair, who will be able to steer the economic progress of the state to be able to generate more revenue for the state. I would like to make reference to what Governor Godwin Obaseki did when first of all moved it from 18,000 to 40,000, 40,000 to 70,000. I think that is very, very commendable of him because when he assumed the power of becoming the governor of Edo State, the economy wasn't like that, but he was able to look around on finding a way to increase the IGR of the state. With that, he was able to increase the salaries of civil servants. So if anybody tells you that it's not possible, it's possible. It depends on what ideas that you are putting on the table and the opportunity that is surrounding you and how you want to enhance it to make it a better idea to speak or rather to benefit the good people of your state. Like you can say, I can boldly say and proud to say I'm from Edo State, and the civil servant in Edo State today, I heard that last month they smiled home, collecting 70,000 naira, which I see very fine, like nothing compared to what people in government in politics are earning every month. Comparing somebody who is in House of Assembly, who is in National Assembly, or even the State of House of Assembly, local government chairman and councillors, how much they rake in every day, every month, and compared to the civil servant who goes to work every day, who have 35 years to work, and is getting 70,000 there. But I can say that those state is in the right direction. That is my opinion.
Mayor Benjamin, well, Honorable, you heard both of them, two contrasting views from Honorable Ehie's, and he said the federal government in the U.S. have its own minimum wage, while states, according to their financial muscle, have their own minimum wage. But Benjamin is saying, look, no state in Nigeria have any excuse not to pay the minimum wage. Now, take it from these angles.
Well, one thing we have to look at when you are talking about minimum wage is that, first and foremost, what is the state of the economy of the country? And what are in stake? Because sometimes when you raise this minimum wage, it leads to inflation too. So we should think of the positive and the negative aspect of it. But I believe one thing, from what I've seen so far, from what I've understood so far, that the Nigerian state as a whole is paying too poor. Let's take it, irrespective of party, time memorial. This thing's supposed to have been stepped up systematically to get to where we're supposed to be.
Without any noise being made.
Without any noise, without any labor even coming to interfere. Because it is what
is done in under civilized country. Reviews. They review these things based on the economy of the country, based on the IGR of the country. So if we are still where we were many, many years ago, at this stage which Nigeria have grown beyond that stage, I think there's something wrong with the system. And something I still believe that if you notice, most time when we talk of this minimum wage, when the federal government wants to do it, the state governments always opposed to it, that they can't pay it. Good, we understand that many state governments are borrowing to pay salary. So if you now have to increase the minimum wage, means they're going to borrow more to pay salary. So there are many things that to be put into consideration. But for me, personally as a Nigerian, let the salary of the politicians be reviewed. When the salary of the politicians are reviewed downward, there will be enough cash to carry civil servant along. Let the security vote the different states are getting, what are they doing with it? What are the impact on the people, the security vote every month? All these subsidy allocations that are coming, what are the benefits to the people? So there are a lot of finance coming to the states. Let the state government wake up and arise to see that these are things that are possible. If even the Nigerian government is paying 200,000, they can still shoulder it.
200,000?
Yes.
Be sure of that.
It can still shoulder it. Because if you look at the excessive cost waste we have that are going to state government, it should all be reviewed. All these luxuries should all be reviewed. Somebody is going to spend 4 years. He's already a billionaire when living there. Why someone is going to work for 35 years, he'll be begging for food at the end. Even to get the pension that is supposed to be his right, he has to be going queuing for one verification after the other verification. So, please, let's tell ourselves the truth. The Nigerian state has the finance to do it. What we are only afraid of, for me, I believe, is that they should settle down and do it in a way that it will not affect the economy more in the sense of inflation. Because a sudden high rise of pay, we know Nigerians the way we think. We say, I want to tell you, if you are receiving 100,000 today now, and you are buying things in the market, probably let's say a gari now for 35, a rubber. The moment the market woman have heard that you are not receiving 200,000, the market woman is going to increase his gari to 5,000, 6,000. So it is not about increasing the salary now is the problem. We have to also have monitoring task force on our foodstuffs, on our purchases. It should be all this put in place as well, because we know our people. The moment your salary is going up, the market man will be telling you, Wusi is already receiving 200,000. He increases his foodstuffs. This is not called for. When in the market has not increased. I will tell you a very simple product. People will complain that dollar was 1.9. Everybody increased the sales in the market. When you go to the market, they tell you, Epa, you don't know how much is dollar now? I don't know how much is dollar now? Now, dollar has decreased with almost 500 naira. Have you seen any singular product in the market that have come down?
Good question.
Have you seen anyone?
Good question.
Zero.
I'll come back to you.
Our people have to be, the mindset of our people have to be also be checkmated.
Okay. Now, let's go to Honorable Ehi Igariba. Well, you heard the point that Honorable Samuel Ehigato raised. He talked about, and that was the same notion of NLC saying that they should cut the costs of governance. Reduce your own costs. You give it to us so that we can use it to pay workers. Now, that is what they are suggesting. Do you see that possible in Nigeria? Reducing the cost in governance and using the excess to, finance this particular cry of civil servants?
I will like to quickly point out an anomaly in the way that we are going about this argument, and also in the way that the Nigerian Labour Congress is agitating for salary increase for only a minute segment of the population. For instance, my friend from Germany talked about Edo State paying a certain minimum wage. But what is important that he did not mention is that the civil servants in Edo State are about 19,000, less than 20,000, and the population of Edo State is 5 million. So if you are talking about paying people about 20,000 people, and that should impact upon 5 million people, I think that is not very accurate to argue in that direction. You know, when the Nigerian Labour Congress is agitating for increments, they should be talking about what is the state's minimum wage, not civil servants' minimum wage. Because the minimum wage, if you're also not careful, because of the way that our economy is managed, will lead to multifaceted inflation. And that is to say, even your driver, your gatesman, they are all going to agitate for something close to the minimum wage. You know, even everybody that earn a certain kind of salary within the state are going to agitate for a minimum wage. And if they do that, what will happen is a lot of people will be out of employment because majority of the employers will be unable to pay. Because if the state were to fix a minimum wage, you know, what we do differently here is there's a minimum wage for the state. But what the Nigerian Labour Congress is holding the entire country to ransom for is just the minimum wage for workers that represent less than 1% of the Nigerian population. And therefore, once they're able to negotiate for 1% of the population, the remaining 99% are left in the loop because the private sector employ much more than the government in Nigeria. And nobody is talking about a minimum wage for the private sector. You know, there is no minimum wage for the states. It's just minimum wage for workers in the states, which represents a very tiny fraction of workers in every state and across the entire country. That is where it is different. And again, my friend talked about reduction in the salaries of public servants. Yes, why that can be considered, but I doubt if the money that will be freed up would make any reasonable impact in terms of what will be given to the workers. For instance, the state governors are only 36 and their salaries their basic salary monthly, it's an estimated 2.2 million naira only. So I don't know if you multiply that by, for instance, if a district governor was to take a pay cut and is now receiving 1 million, he's only freeing up about 1 million naira. I don't know what 1 million naira is freeing up, or is it the 24 House of Assembly members or local government chairmen? They are statutory, really, you know, their salaries are less than 1 million in each or most of these positions. So if you were looking at just salaries, for the most part, they don't earn enough for their monies to be in view of the current inflationary tendency and the value of the naira. I think even the government workers are not earning enough right now. The political office holders, I beg your pardon, are not even earning enough right now. Imagine a governor earning 2.2 million naira. What does that translate to? Less than $2,000 for a whole state governor. That is very lame. That is very lame. If you were also to look at local government chairmen, statutorily they earn, I think we were earning about 700 and something thousand monthly, you know, which is less than $500 a month. And all of this put together is not what is required. What is required is to revamp the economy, you know, revamp the economy at a federal level, but most importantly, revamp the economy at the local government and state levels, because these are the governments that are directly impacting upon the people's lives, you know, and I don't see most of the states doing enough in this direction. You know, there's been huge promises made during election season, especially like we are in Edo State now, but most of the promises did not fall through. So what we have now is that the states is in our state, for instance. I don't know, there was this talk about 200,000 jobs being, being created. That did not happen. There was talk about the Gili Gili Seaport. These were things that were capable of revamping the economy. That did not happen. A lot of things like the farms, if we had the Saru farm as promised and they were really bringing out a product, that on its own would have been able to reduce the cost of living. Because if you have your agricultural products and they are coming in steadily and at reduced prices, then the people will not be agitating for more salaries. The reason why they want a salary increase is that most of the consumable products for the average Edo worker are being imported into the states from other states, neighboring states, and sometimes as far as Jigawa, Sokoto, the food stuff, the livestock, they come in from far places, things that we can actually grow on our own. These promises have not materialized into any kind of substance. And so those state people are agitating for increase in salaries and even the 70,000. We all know, especially my brother Benjamin, who lives in the diaspora, he knows what 70,000 means for a worker who lives in an import-based economy. Most of the products that Nigerians are consuming are actually imported into the country, which means it is very valid to juxtapose the Nigerian salary, the Edo State salary against the exchange rate and see the pittance. 70,000 is only about $45 a month. And if most of the things that you are consuming are imported with the US dollars, then you see that you are really not earning anything reasonable that can do well for you. Why 70,000 represents an increase, but it's not to be applauded because it's only $45 and maybe in euro about $50 or $60 a month. And I don't think anyone living anywhere across the world should be happy about people receiving $60, 60 euro in a whole month, because Nigerians are an export dependent economy. Most of the things they consume come from outside of the country, and they are bought in dollars, in euros, and in pounds. Thank you.
Yeah, from Benjamin, a mayor, all the way from Germany, from what Honorable Ehi talked about, he said, yeah, Benjamin, he said, look, we should, revamp the economy. That was what Honorable Samuel is hinting on. All right, that the amount being canvassed for right now might not just do the trick. Though the governor in those states did his best, was the one that did it first. 70,000 still is not enough right now. Especially the fragment to say at least 105 or 120, 100. We are not saying that. Converting to dollars or pounds or euro, it is nothing to write home about. They are suggesting that the revamping of the economy should be the major thing in the heart of Nigerian government. What do you have to say about this, Benjamin?
First of all, I want to say what my brother said from America. Most of them are true, but we have to face the truth clearly and tell ourselves the truth sometimes, although it's bitter. Um, when you look at Nigerian situation, Edo State is the only state that is topping the chart when it comes to salary issues. So we shouldn't just sweep it under the carpet without commending the governor of the state who have been able to do that. When he said less than 19,000 persons, civil servants in the state, this and that, this and that, you might be correct, which is fine. But there are other states whose civil servants are less than that, and the allocation is also even bigger than the one coming from Edo State. We shouldn't be using the numbers of the civil servants in the states to judge what the state government is doing and the promises made and all that. We understand that the politicians doesn't fulfill all their promises all the time, but we should also understand that circumstances along the line of governing the state will determine what happens next and how the government should be run. You are totally right for in regards the economy of Nigeria and itself and the state himself that it should be revamped, which I'm very, very 100% uh, in line with what you're saying. I have no dispute about that. But Nigeria is a place where everything goes, and the system is kind of a little bit structured that it does not favor people who are just civil servants, they favor people who are the helm of affair, especially the political elected offices. And you also made mention where my opinion need to be differed, that the politicians are not earning well, that they are not earning enough. We decided to start comparing their salary to the dollars and the rest of it. I think in that area you are very, very wrong. You are not an economist, I believe, sir. With due respect, what the government officials are earning today, they are earning too much compared to what the civil servant is earning. We shouldn't be look at what people are earning because most of them are doing the same job. Most of them are the civil servants are even doing more of the difficult task of it and the rest of it. I think the politician salary should be reviewed according to what my brother in the studio said. Because it's the first time my brother in the studio we are going to be aligning and going on one issues since we started appearing on this program. That is for that. The civil servant issues, salary and the rest of it is not something that a candidate should campaign with and not fulfill the promise. And I have gone back to history and I've begun to look at those people who have campaigned with the civil servant issues and all that they didn't fulfill it and all that, which is understandable. Most of them don't even think about it. And they always look away to say, okay, let us raise it a little bit. The other state they say they are not financially buoyant to pay, which is their own, which they always have a way of saying and all that. But the Labour Congress himself, I think they are toiling and playing with the emotions of the civil servant because firm they are not firm in their resolute or rather in their demands. This is what they want and all that. They say struggle comes by you cannot just get something just by saying it and saying it and saying it. You have to take a drastic action for you to get that thing done. The Labour Congress need to press hard on it, to press federal government hard on it. Anybody tells you there is no money in the country for the civil servant to be paid or for their salary to be increased, I think that is very, very wrong. We need to let them know there is money in the country. Of course, Nigeria is blessed. Nigeria is a blessed country. We are blessed with all the natural resources that you can find in the world. Mismanagement of funds is what is affecting the country and is affecting the economy. Mr. Higgett also made mention of deflation and the rest of it and the rest of that. Like I always say, is that if you want to repair Nigeria, first of all, you need to have a data of everything. Everything to be digitalized. So in a situation where, for example, where me and this my elder brother in America live right now is that it's a situation where you go to a supermarket and a particular thing is being sold for 20 naira in New Jersey. And you go to New York and that thing is being sold for 25 naira. And you that saw it online, you have a right to question that. And not just that, there is an organization that monitors these prices and online monitoring or physical also monitoring it. You cannot set up a task force in Nigeria. The task force won't function. We have seen a lot of task force being set up, and at the end of the day, it's being politicized and it's being used for something else and all that. So I just want us to understand that we have to go back to the drawing board by fixing the economy and fixing our country first. How can we do that? By having a country that runs things digitally. You must not appoint somebody who campaign for you during the election just for you to fulfill or rather to compensate that person. It doesn't work like that. That task will work. That that I would like to, that organization won't function the way it's supposed to function. And when you look at the Nigerian institutions, there are so many institutions that's been set up to do what they're supposed to do, which most of them have been neglected. They are very, very good, sir. They are not functioning. Like the standard organization, the NAFDAC is a mess. I can say that. So when you look at those things, they are not functioning. We first of all need to go back to the institution and begin to do a proper cleanup, a proper cleanup in the sense that when a woman will not be able to go to the market and tell you because her salary is being increased, that's the reason why somebody in the market who is selling Ugboria or selling a can will have to also increase her own price. Since the material that he or she is using to produce that product is not being increased to. So when you said increasing the salary from 60,000 to 200,000 is achievable, and at the same time you're going to cost inflation, I don't that it make no sense. I think you need to help it to make sense. It's not that Nigeria can afford. Nigeria can afford it. Nigeria can afford it. If you see what the politicians are spending, and I look at it the other day, look at how many SUV that was purchased for the legislators. You know how much one of those SUV cost. and they're just going to be there, and that SUV is just going to be used just for 4 years. And after 4 years, they're going to reorder for another new one again. Why a civil servant who works in that office for 35 years, he will not be able to get his or her pension or even get his gratuity? Let me shock you with this. The country where I live, last month, I got a letter and the Ministry of like a pension board is telling me you have 28 years to work before you retire. At that 28 years to work, they have already break it down. If the current your current annual salary continues like this, in the next 28 years, this is what you're going to be earning when you go to pension. And they're also telling me that if you want to go on pension today, this is what you're going to be earning every month. So all those things are being digitalized. They are telling you it has already been calculated. So as soon as your salary increases, you already know how much you are going to be earning, taking home when you go for when you go to pension. So nobody's going to be telling you, come tomorrow, come and do a verification, come and do this. What are you verifying when somebody has worked for 35 years? That's the reason why I said the system is a system that we all need to work on. Clean it first, and let it continue to function just like every other country in the Western world. It is not a mirage. It is not a rocket science. We just need people who are dedicated, people who are truthful, people who are transparent, people who are accountable. So I also want my brother in America to understand that Edo State issue is not an issue that we should just look at without telling the governor of the state, thank you for what you are doing. Even the civil servants are beginning, even the civil servants are beginning to say thank you for what the man is doing, because
Just hold on. I will come back to you. I will come back to you. I will come back to you. Well, Honorable Aras, you heard Benjamin. He said, look, everything that you digitize, they know, they tell you your time for pension, your time for retirement, talk about the Constitution, talk about doing so much to make sure that things are better done in Nigeria. Having said all this, this has been on for like months now till they went on strike. They said, okay, fine, let's give them extra 5 days, and now there is a deadlock. Do you see Labour down tools, or will you advise them to down tools, to go on a strike, the mother of all strikes, until things are done in this and in order? They shouldn't come back.
Well, first and foremost, I'm not in support of any strike action, because I believe at the end of everything, negotiation is going to be the end. Diplomacy must still take place. So whether you go on strike, and after the strike you still come to the table to negotiate, or you stop the strike and negotiate properly to have a headway, it's still the best. It's negotiation. I'm not in support of any strike. I still believe the government should shift some ground, for sure. I know there are many things in considerations, because if you look at what the federal government said last time, it was opposed by the state government. It was not the federal government the issue is, no. The state government said, we cannot pay what you are trying to propose. So it has to also be in negotiation with the state government, so that they will have a headway to arrive at a same point. So it is not just something that can easily be done, because this is something that's supposed to have been done years with the systematic of the country. Like the country my brother is living, Germany, there are ways to increase the salary. When you are working, there is a stage you will get to. You will be surprised without you didn't even ask for that salary increase. You will see that your salary has increased a little bit. Before you know it is going up. The more you work, years you work in a place, the more the salary goes up systematically. So you don't need to even fight for it. You don't need to, even the labor union don't even need to put any pressure on the government for it. I think the system, as my brother said, must be fixed in a way that the government already knows that, okay, after 2-3 years, this salary is no more capable to take care of Nigerians. Automatically something should add to it. The Nigerians don't need to ask for it. And one other point that is angering many of Nigerians too is about the labor, is that they're fighting for very, very few people, while the majority is still left out. Let's make it a situation that this salary is going to also band with the private sectors. It's also going to band with every sector in Nigeria. it will be of an advantage to all. But in a situation that only about 10%, I always say 10%, the civil servant in Nigeria, I always call them 10%, even though they are not even up to 10% of the country population. But I always say 10%. If because of this 10% now, salary is increased, listen, those that got the increment in salary might smile a little, but the general public is going to suffer the consequence of the inflation that is going to come with it, of the increment in the marketplaces that is going to come with it as well. It is not going to be them alone. It's we all. So there are things that need to be put in place, like the price control. Good or bad, we have a lot of task forces that have been put in place, like the petroleum task force that is not functioning for 7 years in Benin. We know during Oshomole, the time of Oshomole, you don't just jump up prices as you like at the filling stations. You don't tie the knot of the filling station. Sometimes you buy a fuel, listen, 10,000 naira. You got a fuel value of 7,000 naira because the task force is no more there. For 7 years, they'll be scrambled. These are functioning task force before. You can make them function. If a government was able to do it before, to make it function for us, why can't this same government that is presently there for more than 7 years can make it function? There should be task force for the marketplace. There was something that happened in Lagos State that was about 3-4 years ago when this rice price started. The Iyeki in Lagos, he took they call them talks. He took them into the market. That he doesn't want anybody to sell more than 35,000, be 30,000 naira outside there, the bag of rice. That if they see anyone, they will pack it and sell it for that price and give her the money, give you the money. It functions.
That's price control mechanism.
Yes, it functions. But it cannot be perfect. Based on the way Nigeria are, we are corrupt folks in one way or the other. We still need to be patriotic. Because like in Germany where those things function, like in America where those things function, there is patriotic in them. When you go if you go to Freisen now, like in Bayern, it's a village in Germany. If you are buying a chicken for 2.99 cents, travel to North Germany, Hamburg, you are buying it for 2.99 cents.
The same price?
Yes, same price. Even though you are trying to the north, there's no difference. Because the price control system is functioning. The price task force is functioning. They can just walk into the supermarket. They'll dress normal like a customer, even carry this thing and be buying it. It's to know how you're selling. A kilo of beef you buy in Bayern is the same price of kilo of beef you buy in the north, in Berlin, or anywhere. It can happen here. But where we have a problem now in Nigeria, the producers of this beef now, for example, are in the north. Is it not possible for us also to produce beef here? Don't we have farmers of beef, cow? I'm a cow farmer too. The problem is not being frustrated. We are being frustrated here in the south by the northern people that are here controlling the cow business. The head of all the cow farmers in Edo State is an Hausa man. Why? Why? And he tells you how you can get people to take your cow out. He tells you how much you pay them, and you pay to him a certain amount of money for you as a Benin man to farm. All this cost can be eradicated. I will not need to go and bring cow from the north with over 1.2 million. That will be added cost because we are producing it here. We are rearing here and producing here.
That in a common ground.
There will be a common ground.
All right.
Because if you go to those countries, we are talking about that these things are functioning. Beef are reared in almost all the countries. Chickens are reared almost all the countries. So definitely, cost of transportation here and there is not in that much.
Okay.
It might be from the inner city, inner town to the main urban town, but the cost will still be less.
All right.
But like we are thinking of bringing tomatoes from north to Edo State, it's already a problem. The road infrastructure is a problem, number one. Because before you get to Benin, half of your tomatoes goes
It's rotten.
right.
So you have already lost half of your capital.
All right.
So you now have to add the cost to it. Then now add the cost of the union to it. Automatically you bet tomatoes.
So
and
it's
potato.
all about for you now price control. They shouldn't go on strike.
The system should be fixed.
Okay, now let's
The strike
get
is
to
not
hear.
needed because the strike is even going to affect all Nigerians in as much.
Now let's get to hear Igariba as he gives his concluding part of the discussion. We have to go to the next one right now. Honorable, do you think that Labour should go on strike if they just can't meet this common ground? They can't find a common ground for them to resolve this impasse. Do you suggest strike, or they should just continue negotiation until they find a common ground?
Well, for right now, on a personal note, I do not trust the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC. I do not think they are representing the interest of the Nigerian workers. I think at the end of the day, they are going to do some kind of a very shabby negotiation without taking into cognizance the reason, let me say, very important variables. For instance, like my friend did mention, they are going to be negotiating on behalf of less than 5% of Nigerian workers. And for that reason, they must not hold the entire country to ransom, on the one hand. And secondly, who are the labor leaders themselves? I'll give you a very laughable instance. In Edo State, the chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress is one of my political leaders and somebody I respect, Chief Odionlayi. But guess what? He's the leader of PDP in the local government, and he's also the chairman of Nigerian Labour Congress in Edo State. So there is already a conflict of interest. He represents another political party, so he's going to be politicizing whatever interest he's bringing to the table as a labor person. So I don't know how they arrive at their leadership and why we should respect them to the extent that we are going to be leaving the welfare of workers across the country in their hands. I just think they should go quietly and negotiate and stop putting the Nigerians under untold hardship when they call for industrial actions, which we all know at the end of the day may just not favor more than 5% of Nigerian workers. The other
Thank you.
95% of Nigerian workers are going to be
All
left to
right.
the loop. So,
Thank you.
for that reason, I do not support the strike by the
All
Nigerian
right.
Labour Action Congress. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. I want to go for a break to continue the next discussion. Before that, let's get to hear from Benjamin. Benjamin, do you think that Labour should go on a strike if this impasse is not resolved? Benjamin, over to you. Briefly.
A closed mouth is a closed destiny. I will always say, where you want to request for something, come with a tangible reason why that thing should be given to you. I think the Labour Congress, like what my brother said from America, that they should first of all understand what they are asking for, and the people who are asking for it, their integrity should also be checked if they actually fighting for the interest of the common man or the civil servant in Nigeria. Going for a strike, you should go for a strike for a reason. Every country in the world, they have a union, labor union that go for a strike to fight for the good people of the laborer who are laboring in that country to make sure that country become a better country. But the people working in the private sector not being carried along is another issue that I think we need to look into, because according to the data is available, like 10% or 5% of Nigerians are civil servants compared to the people who are working in the private sector. That means it's way, way, way higher than. So if the people in the private sector are not carried along, that is another problem we need to face. In conclusion, in conclusion, not just by going on strike and increasing salary, the system need to be fixed. Somebody cannot be holding, or rather occupying two positions at public office. Like the very dear brother he mentioned, that who is a leader in the PDP. I don't know why this my brother in America is always attacking PDP. I don't understand.
No, he's not
Who
attacking
is who?
PDP. Let's get it clear.
No,
He's
no.
not attacking PDP. He's making a
He's
point.
always so
He's
he's
making a
okay. You make the
point.
point. Okay, you making the point. I understand. So the
All
guy
right.
who is the leader in the PDP at the same time, the Labour Congress leader in Edo State. I think I don't know how the laws permit that. In the country where I live in, you are not allowed to um, occupy such position because there you already have a conflict of interest. And he also made mention, my Deborah in the studio also made mention of the task force that was being set up and all that during the Shomole. He's an APC guy. He's always referring to Shomole and all that. During the time of Shomole, you should also know that whether the task force was there was not there, the revenue of the state was not increased, just like as we have it right now. So all
All
those
right,
things I just
thank
wanted to
you.
point out. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much.